Okay, welcome. Please tell me who you are and why you're here.
Sure. My name's David Reeves. I'm here from Seattle. I'm here both out of personal interest because I track things, and also I've been working on a company that helps people measure and improve their well-being called Limeade.
Sorry, what's it
Called
called?
Limeade.
First, start by the first thing you mentioned. You track things. What do you track and why?
Sure. I track my physical activity, how much I'm cycling. Cycle a lot for exercise. I track how much I'm writing. Just kind of track writing for kind of self-awareness and
How many words you write, or
really more just whether I'm writing.
okay, how many time you spend writing?
Yeah. Or just whether I do it on a given day.
Yeah.
Yes or no.
Yeah.
Just keep it simple. And a few other things here and there, but those are kind of the big ones.
And why do you? Well, the cycling is obvious. You want to know whether you do enough, probably whether you
Sure.
exercise enough.
Yep.
But the writing, why do you want to keep track of that?
Partly because I like to think of myself as someone who reflects on things, but I think sometimes my perception of that is different from the reality. And so it's kind of my way of staying in touch with how much that actually is true,
Yeah.
and kind of motivates me to do more.
The company,
Yeah.
what does that do?
Sure. So we provide our service to large corporations, and we help their employees basically understand really everything that goes into their kind of happiness, health, and productivity, and really kind of understand the whole picture of their lives, and then essentially improve it, work on improving it by participating socially with other employees.
So, a company comes to you and tells you, we would like some help.
Yeah.
Where do you start? What do you do? What does the
Yeah.
company have to do?
Well, so we start out really trying to understand. Well, let me back up. What we found is that for our program to work, it works best when it really kind of resonates culturally with a given company.
Yeah.
Companies
people-
have very different cultures,
Yeah,
right?
people need to want it, or they.
Yeah, they need to want it, but what works for one company may not work for another. The companies have different sensibilities, so we'll actually we'll work with the company to really understand their workforce and their employees, develop some personas about what they're like, and then work with them to essentially develop a whole program of activities and ultimately an incentive system that kind of rewards different activities.
So it's sort of like a gamification of the work. That needs to be done?
Of self-improvement. It's not usually of the work itself, but it's of how people become aware of their physical health and their stress and their happiness at work, and then helps them kind of take some actions to improve it.
What sort of companies approach you to help that?
Sure. So some of them have been large retailers in the United States. There's a company called REI that has used us. Other kind of big food companies like Chipotle is a restaurant chain. Also, Stanford University Hospital System and the Ohio State University are all customers of ours.
And what's the reason they think about doing anything?
Yeah, it varies. I mean, some, frankly, are looking to reduce the cost of healthcare,
Yeah.
which is a big issue in America. Others are really looking to provide to really kind of attract and retain the best employees and kind of have a workforce that really wants to be there and feels cared for and is really kind of high performance in a sense. It is really a workforce that's just energized and excited to be there.
Yeah, because when workforce is more happy, or the people who work are happier, they are more productive.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I mean, they're there.
Yeah.
They show up to work. When they show up healthy and ready to work, right? And they feel positively about their company. They feel positively about the people they work with.
How long have you been doing this work?
So we were founded in 2006, so a little while ago. We've been really providing our service at scale for about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. And have you noticed a change? Do you see more companies are into it or getting into it?
Yeah, more and more.
Yeah?
We've gotten some really good adoption and interest from companies. Yeah.
And do you have an explanation for that? Is that because well, it gives them healthier employees?
Well, I think there's for some time there's been a number of companies trying to just reduce healthcare costs, but I think there's more and more of an understanding that people are more complicated than just their cholesterol numbers and things like that. That you might have an issue with your cholesterol because you have bad eating habits, because you're stressed at work, because you really want to look at kind of overall well-being, and use that as a lens to help people improve.
Yeah, and that must be quite hard for you as for your company as well, because how do you make people? Well, it's one thing to make people to make people move more. I
Sure.
think that's probably quite easy, or relatively easy. But to make them happier and feel better about themselves and really enjoy their work more.
Sure.
That must be quite hard.
Well, I mean, I think some of it is there are a few kind of dimensions to that. There's a lot of good research that shows that people who do move more become happier. That affects your mood. I think we also work very hard to create social connections between employees, so they feel more connected to the people around them. So there are a lot of different kind of ways to go about that. I think the other part that we do is really try to focus on trying to help people become more aware of things going on in their life. So we developed a series of tools to help people kind of improve their self-awareness.
So how many tools do you use and put into a company and give to the people who work there too?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, ours is one tool, right, which is focused on self-awareness. And then we'll really kind of focus on really connecting people with the things that they might use, like apps on their phone and activity tracking devices that we don't make, but that we kind of embrace and reward. Yeah.
But your own is just the one tool you use yourselves or have developed yourself?
So we don't have an activity tracker ourselves. We have a website and a mobile experience that we use, and then we essentially then from there connect people to devices like Fitbit and mobile applications from companies like Nike and Runkeeper.
Are there any other tracking devices you are waiting for or you're hoping for?
I mean, in general, I think we're really trying to kind of reward what people already want to use. I think we'd love to see one around swimming a little bit better. I think, but really the basics are around just kind of having something that's really easy a really easy and ambient way to track your walking and kind of how much you're moving, and that's starting to be there more and more. So but it's been really exciting to see just the new devices coming out.
Yeah. It's one thing that a company approaches you for you to come in and help them get the workforce fitter and happier and more productive.
Yeah.
But how about the workforces themselves you meet? Are they always into it, or do they feel sort of like
Sure. Who are you and why are you asking me all these questions? Yeah. Good question. In general, the response was very positive. It does vary a lot based on kind of the existing relationship between the company and its workforce. So, we're at the end of the day, we're an agent of the company to some extent. Yeah. But we work pretty hard to establish ourselves as kind of a neutral party between the company and the employee, so that an employee will kind of trust us and feel free to actually tell us how things actually are, and then we take that and feed that back in aggregate to to we don't give you details about what each individual right exactly right. So in general it's very positive. Sometimes there are companies where because of things that happened in the past, they might not trust the company so much, and so we have to kind of work through that.
Yeah. And another thing can be that if a lot of the workforce embraces your system and really likes to join in, and 3 or 4 don't really want to, and they were the one who were too fat anyway and drank too much anyway. Isn't that a difficulty as well? That somehow the whole dimension of how it was is being overturned by you entering.
Sure. I mean, I think the interesting thing to remember about a lot of companies is that it's a social place, right?
Yeah.
And people are there's already kind of a model for success in a company. You know, people are kind of usually trying to kind of model their behavior. Like they look at the leaders in the company and they see, well, that's what it means to be successful here, and they try to model that behavior. And the same thing happens with moving more, or with improving well-being. You know, that if it's actually embraced by the leaders of the company, people do kind of model the behaviors of people around them, and I think we see that dynamic too.
Yeah. So once it starts, you all join in.
Yeah, and not everyone. Some people aren't going to join in, but that's their choice too.
So, when are you satisfied? What needs to be the success rate?
It differs for each. We work with each company to figure out what their goals are, what kinds of what the program is about, what kind of rewards they want to provide. We've had a number of companies where 98% of people will participate. Others, it's a little bit lower. So I think at the end of the day, we're looking to get as many people as possible to participate in the first place, and then the second part is really around starting to show a measurable change in health, well-being, and productivity. And that's one of the things that we looked at measuring kind of on a year-over-year basis.
What's the most interesting you heard or saw
here?
Here, yeah.
Oh, these conferences are always so fun. They're just so much, so many just amazing things. I think there was a fascinating presentation someone gave on having his webcam take a picture of him every now and then, and seeing what he learned from that. I think a lot of the things around stress tracking are very interesting. There are a couple of new devices that are helping people with that. There's a lot of discussion around, so I mentioned that we take in data from a few different activity tracking devices, and there's been a lot of discussion here around what the data from those different devices really means. Like, is a step from Nike the same as a step from Fitbit, or the same? And so it's a little bit in the weeds, but it's something that we've wrestled with a lot too. So it's been fun.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.